all day. It was an escape for me. Art was this freedom.
Hey guys, you're listening to Andreas Talks Art with your host, Andreas Kramer.
What is up, guys? We are back with another episode of Andreas Talks Art. Oh, yeah. And today, I got something special for you. This is the question and answer episode. So, I posted up to Instagram a few days, seeing if any of you guys had any questions from me. And I got some questions from you guys, so I'm going to answer them. Let's get into it. Let's not waste any time. Here we go. So, first off, we got a question from Brooke Johnson. She said, "What made you interested in interviewing artists?" Well, where do we start with that? I mean, I got interested in podcasts right around as I was graduating from college. I found this podcast, Impact Theory, by Tom Bilyeu. And I listened to him interviewing Rodney Mullen and Rob Dyrdek, both professional skateboarders. And after that, I just fell down the rabbit hole of podcasts. And it was this way for me to grow and learn outside of school. It became my secondary education. And after school, it became my full time education. At work, I would listen to podcasts 8 hours a day, every day. And I just really, really, really got into podcasts. And then when I moved out to Denver, I moved in with this guy, Abdiel. You might have heard of him or seen him before. And he came into my room one day and asked me if I wanted to start a podcast with him because we became really good friends and we would sit down and just talk for hours. And at the time when he asked me, I had just started to form the thought of wanting to create my own podcast. So when he asked me, I didn't think twice about it. I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And me and him created Puff Puff Podcast. Oh, yeah. And that went on for a good year until Abdil moved away. And then we stopped because, we had to have both of us there to do it. I mean, we didn't have to, but we wanted to. And so once that stopped, I didn't want to stop creating podcasts altogether. And, we had been doing this podcast that was very broad and vague. There was no specific idea behind it. We just wanted to record our conversations. And with the end of Puff Puff, I started thinking about how I would structure my own podcasts. And within moving out here, I started becoming a member of the Denver Art Society and got connected to 60, 70 plus artists in this one area. And they're all over the place, different mediums, different styles, different people, different ages, everything. And I would have some great conversations with these guys and girls when I was in the gallery. And it kind of just hit me, I wanted to create a specific topic for my podcast to revolve around. And the one thing I knew I would never get bored. I'd never get bored of talking about. I would always have new ideas and I would have inspiration for talking about this for forever was art. It was creativity. And within knowing all these different artists, I wanted to help them and help myself. Every time I would talk to someone, you learn something from them. And with talking specifically about their art and their creative journey, I would learn about art, which would help me. And I knew through all my years of not only creating art, but creating videos, I would be able to help all these artists who were very, they were very focused on their art. I was able to help them record and put their story out to the world. So I would learn something and then they would have this podcast of which the whole idea behind the podcast is documenting everyone's creative journey. So it would help me out because I would learn. It would help them out because they would have this documentation of themselves. And since it's a podcast and I'm putting out, I'm hoping that other people will learn and grow from it as well. So that's really where the idea came from. And it's been awesome so far. And, I just want to keep talking to more people and keep it growing and keep it going. So thanks for that question. That was an awesome one. Next, we have a question from Samel. He asked, what's the most annoying experience you've had in your art career so far? That's another good question. With everything, there's pros and cons, there's good and bad, and there's definitely some annoying things with trying to take your art from a hobby to a business, to a career. I think the one thing I found the most annoying is the communication with clients, and I blame myself mostly for that. And what happens is, we don't all have our own defined terms. When someone's asking me for, say, an album art and they say they want something exciting, everyone has their own idea of what exciting means, of what exciting feels, of what exciting looks like. And because of this, it's hard to get on the same page with someone what they want visually, because it's such a strange thing to describe of what you see and feel in your mind. And the annoying part with this has just been there's been a lot of unnecessary back and forth, and a lot of things I've created for clients that they don't actually want, and this constant back and forth with us using terms that are just too vague for us to really understand what either of us are doing. So this is something I've been trying to work on and get better with. And yeah, the communication between clients, that's for sure it's been a struggle, but we're working on it. So the next question I have is from Taylor. He asked, how do you think it'd feel to not do art and ignore the drive to? Oh man, that's a good question. And, like you said, I have this drive to create. That's why I do it just about every single day. I spend my time and energy creating art. And it's something that I feel I couldn't ignore it. There's no way. I wouldn't be myself if I ignored it. And, art's helped me with so much. It's been this way for me to express myself, because a lot of the times words don't come to my head right away, and I'm not able to say how I feel. And it's just sometimes these ideas we think and these feelings we have in our head, they can be so abstract, it's hard to put them out into words. And art has just been this way for me to express anything and everything that's going on, good, bad, whatever. So to ignore it, it would take a big part of me away, and I wouldn't be the person who I am. And I'd have to find something to replace it with, but I don't know what I'd do with my time. Probably just skateboard all the time and snowboard, but damn, that shit would suck if I wasn't making art. All right, next question is from Evan, and we got a whole list of questions from Evan, so thank you for that, dude. First question, Evan said, do you think filming the making of your art has a negative impact on your process and the art itself? What are some pros and cons of doing it? Whew, that's an awesome question, Evan. And off the bat, I do think it has a negative impact on my art, because there's so much that goes into filming and making a video for one of my art pieces. Before my process, I could just come in whenever I want to my studio and just create. And it wasn't linear at all. I would come in and work a little, then maybe bounce to another piece, and then come back later that day or the next day or the next week, because, inspiration it's always felt like a wave for me, and with specific pieces too. Sometimes I'm more inspired to work on one piece than another, and I like to bounce around and work on tons of different pieces at a time. So trying to record and turn these art projects into a video project has just added so much. It's affected my process more than anything, because I have to be prepared. I have to be overly prepared, because not only do I need to film it, but within filming all these different projects, I have so much video, terabytes and terabytes. I've a lot of hard drives and a lot of flash drives filled up with videos. So I'm constantly organizing that. I spend a whole day filming a project, multiple projects. Then the next day I'm on my computer uploading them and organizing them into hard drives. And then after that, I have all my free flash drives to come back the next day, record again. And like I said, it takes multiple days to finish a project. So there's just so much more that goes into it. And then once I'm finished, there's all the editing, which takes days to edit as well. So it's slowed down my process a lot, which I think the slowing down of my process is good and bad, because it's bad because I like to work at this fast pace where I'm bouncing around on a lot of different projects at once. But it's good because it's allowed me to step back, and I spend a lot more time on a single project. So I get to look at it a lot more. I get to understand it more. I think about it more. And oftentimes a lot of ideas come up that wouldn't have come up before because of all this extra time I'm spending on it. I think overall, it hasn't had a huge change on the final art piece itself. I mean, that's so hard to say because who the fuck knows? But more than anything, it's had an effect on my process. Whether it's good or bad, that's hard to say, I mean, I think years and years from now, it's going to be amazing to look back on all this. And I get to see all these different steps along the way that I would have totally forgotten otherwise had I not recorded it all. So, at the end of the day, making videos it's something I've done since I was in elementary school, and I've always loved it and had so much fun with it. So I don't really care what the effect is on everything else, because it's something I like to do. So, yeah, that was a good question, man. The next question he asked is, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your high school age self if you could time travel? Damn. Okay. That's a good question too, man. So, back in high school, I was doodling all the time, and I was doodling with Evan in English class and every other class. It was this escape for me to get away from the boredom. And it wasn't until maybe my junior and senior year where I started taking more art classes. I took a video class and I took a digital art class, but that was about it. And the one thing I think that would have been cool is if I took all 4 years to really explore all these different art opportunities. I could have taken a photography class, a sculpture class, a woodworking class, and just to really use that time to explore all these different opportunities. When you have these teachers who are willing to give you their information that they know about all these different things, if I use that time to explore and take a lot of different art classes, that's one thing that would have been that would have been cool. Yeah. Next question, he said, what are 3 art forms you've never tried but have been itching to try or haven't gotten the chance to? Whew. Well, considering that recently I've been putting a lot of my time and energy into exploring as many different mediums as possible, this is an excellent question. There are a lot of art forms I would like to try. Pretty much every single one I would like to try. But 3 that have been on my mind recently are glass. I would love to try glass blowing. I think it's just such a cool form, and the shapes and the way you can mix colors in is awesome. Another thing I would like to work with is metal. I'm not sure exactly what I'd want to do with metal. I haven't thought about this a whole lot, but I think it falls back into the idea of like creating sculptures and using metal, whether it's, soldering or, same thing with glass. You can heat metal up and bend it and form it into different shapes, or even welding, who knows. But metal and glass, I think those 2 are very badass art forms in my opinion. The idea of using heat is super cool. I've always loved working with fire. So yeah, those are 2. And the third one is, I'd have to say wood, just because there's so much you can do with wood, whether it's like structures, houses are built of woods. All throughout like middle school and high school, I was building skate ramps and rails, and I would love to get into the craft of woodworking and really sculpting with wood. So those are some three forms: metal, glass, and wood. And here's a little teaser. I'm going to be working with one of those very, very soon. I'm super excited. Not going to tell you which one though. You'll have to wait and see. But yeah, metal, glass, and wood. The next question: are there any art forms you dislike slash would never want to do? Out of the art forms I've working with thus far, I don't think there's anything that I would never want to do again. The one that I've been working with recently is wood burning, and it's been a challenge for me. It's been such a slow process. Just to create a small like 1 inch line, you have to be so patient, move so slowly, and be so precise with your movement, because if you hold it on one spot for longer than the other, you're going to get a different burn. It starts to go way too deep, and then your little nib of your tip gets stuck and you end up burning it more. And it's really just tested my patience. So it's been a struggle. I do like wood burning overall. The way it looks and feels is awesome, but the process of it has been a bit of a struggle for me so far. So that's one, but I'll keep working with it. I'll figure it out. We'll get there. Next question, he said, who would you choose if you could make a collab with any artist, living or dead? Okay, so if I could work with any living artist, I think it would have to be 1000. He is a muralist and a YouTuber. He creates music, animations. He does a lot of things. I think muralist is overall his specific focus, but I think it would be really cool to work with him. One is his style is these bright, vivid colors. He works with like teal and orange a lot, which are, some of my favorite colors. But really, I'd like to work with him is because of the creatures he creates. And that's what so much of my art is based off of. Whether I'm trying to or not, almost all of my art ends up being a creature of some sort. And I think it would be cool to work with him to learn from his process since he's been doing it for so long. I want to get into murals myself, so to learn how he creates his murals would be awesome. And not only that, the quality of his work, his murals, his videos, his music, it's so good. I think there's just so much I could learn from working with 1000. So, yeah. Check him out, 1000. He's on YouTube. And yeah. Dead artist that I would work with is probably Basquiat, just because I admire his style so much, and his I don't know, a lot of my abstract paintings, beginning off, I really didn't take when I was first starting to paint, I got into abstract, and I didn't really know much about other artists who were creating abstract, but as I got more and more into abstract, I started researching, and Basquiat was one of the guys who kept coming up, and I started to take from his style. And I've watched a lot of interviews of him, and he's an interesting guy, and I think he was just very experimental, which is what so much of my art revolves around. So I would just love to get the chance to talk with him while we're working on a piece, and I think we'd make something crazy. No, for sure we would make something crazy. But yeah. All right. We got one more question from Evan. And Evan asked, this is a good question. What does art mean to you? Damn, that's a good question. What does art mean to me? Well, Evan, art means a fucking lot. Just like everyone else I've asked this question, I mean, art is so much of who I am today, and it's really provided me with so much of the ideas I have. Like I said, starting off like back in high school, middle school, elementary school, I was drawing all day. It was an escape for me. Art was this freedom. It was this way to, escape this boredom I was feeling in class and create my own reality in my head. So in that sense, art meant this total freedom for me. And then moving on to college, when I started to take a lot of art classes, my degree was visual arts. I was fully focused on the art. And then I started to have this idea of not only studying art, but really turning art into my career through not only working for others, but working for myself. So the idea of freedom totally blew up, because it wasn't only this thing that I could create in my mind, but I could take it out into the real world. We started going to art shows and selling pieces, and it just sparked so many ideas and hope that I could create my own reality through art. I could use art to not only like explore these crazy ideas, but explore the world. We started going to festivals and trying to sell art. We started going to art shows, and we weren't making a ton of money. We weren't making money at all, but I knew that as long as I kept working, it would grow. So it started to mean this. It still meant freedom, but it was a whole different sense of freedom. And now, being out of school, art has become everything, man. It's become my sense of expression, because I've never felt comfortable communicating with people through words. It's been hard to explain how I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. Sometimes these ideas and feelings we have in our head can seem so abstract. At least they did to me, and they still do. And art has been this way for me to just let go, let it all out. It's been a release. So, yeah, I think freedom and expression and hope are some really important things that art means to me. So that's it. That's my question and answer episode. Thank you guys for giving me some questions. These were some awesome questions. Let me know, guys. Let me know what you guys thought of this. I'd love to do some more if you guys are into it. Leave me some more questions you have in the comments. Shoot me a message. Yeah. Thanks for watching. We out. Catch you guys later.
Thanks for listening. Share this with your friends if you liked it. And don't forget to be cool. Peace out.
Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Andreas Talks Art. Don't forget to leave me a review. It helps me improve the show. And if you got anything out of this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you shared it with one of your friends. Till next time, we out.